Good morning and a very warm welcome indeed to today's iOB Business webinar. It's an absolute pleasure to be on here. My name is Ben and I'm a resident business coach here at iOB Business. Now, just before we get started with today's webinar session, a couple of bits to run over just so that you get the absolute most from today's webinar, okay? So, first of all, if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask them. You'd be more than welcome to do so in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen there. And what we'll do is we'll answer those questions for you during the Q&A segment at the end of today's webinar session. Now, what's also important is that in between each of the three key topics that we're going to talk about today, we're also going to take a moment for a brief pause to make sure that everybody has a chance to catch up on the slide, ask any questions, and take down any notes as well. All right, so without further ado, let's get started for today's webinar session. A welcome to those of you that are on here just now, and a warm welcome to those of you joining as well. Thank you very much for taking the time. Right, let's get our video camera switched off, so you should no longer be able to see my face, but you should still be able to hear my voice. And in just a moment's time, you'll also be able to see the webinar presentation up on screen there for you as well. Okay, perfect. So connecting with clients, a masterclass in long-term business income. So what's one of the key factors in running a long-term healthy service-based business? Taking care of your clients. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to go through three core topics. Now, before we get started, a little bit about who I am. My name is Ben and I'm a business coach. I specialize in working with small businesses, just like many of you on here, to help them achieve stability and to help them achieve significant, consistent growth. It's an absolute pleasure to be on here. I love what I do and I genuinely love doing these webinars. So, discussion points for today. We're going to begin with the early stages. We're going to talk about what happens in the early stages of a client business relationship and how to really solidify that for the long term. Number two, we're going to talk about common ground, maybe self-explanatory, maybe not. We'll find out when we get there. And number three, the winning formula. Okay. So we'll go through each of these step by step. Make sure that you've had a good chance to go through each slide, understand each slide, and ask as many questions as you would like to ask as well. As I said, please don't be shy with your questions. I'm always more than happy to answer them. Okay, so getting kicked off with topic number one, early stages. Okay, so building a near unbreakable relationship with your clients begins right from the early stages of the working relationship. Okay, it begins right from the first meeting. Okay, so typically what will happen, okay, you are a digital agency service provider. You have run an advert or you've done some sort of campaign, you've met somebody at a networking event, or you bumped into somebody on the street who needs digital marketing services. Okay, so you've had a little bit of chit chat. Now it's time for the first sales meeting. Okay, now this is where the work begins. We have to get to know the client. We have to get to know what they need, what makes them happy, what their business goals are, what their business ventures are. Okay. Now, if you're in the early stages of this working relationship, okay, and you're in the early stages of your business as well, you're going to find it somewhat straightforward to personally know every client on a personal level. Okay. Now, we're talking other webinars about maximum operational capacity. Okay, now this is another component of that. So to give you a very brief overview of what maximum operational capacity is, it's essentially how much time you have to properly take care of your clients and therefore how many clients you can have at any one time. Okay, but an extension of that rule is really to understand how many clients can I have while still being able to understand them on a personal level and understand what they need from my business. Okay, because as you can imagine, as I'm sure you will have already begun thinking, one client, two client, three clients, yeah, okay, I can understand them on a personal level. 4 clients, 5 clients, 6 clients, getting a little bit more tricky, but I can still manage it. 7 clients, 8 clients, 9 clients. It's getting quite hard now to remember what everybody needs. So we need to be conscious of this as we're growing our business. Okay, now many people make an almost immediate initial judgment of you and of your business. Okay, so what we have to consider, how are we prepared for this first sales meeting? Are we disorganized? Do we not know where the brief is? Do we not really know what the client wants to talk about, or the prospective client at this stage? All of these things are going to leave a lasting impression. Okay. So, not to say that you can't relax at some stage in the client working relationship when you become familiar with each other, because your first impression is already solidified. They already know that you're a strong business leader, capable. Therefore, you can be a little bit more relaxed. But in the beginning, you do not want to come on blasé. You don't want to come on disinterested. You don't want to come on disorganized, because any one of these things and many more negative things will leave that lasting impact. Okay, so it could do one of two things. It could encourage them not to work with you altogether, or it could leave a lasting impression even if they do choose to work with you. Okay, so you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, they still signed up, they're still working with me, they're still paying my monthly fees. But guess what? Because you were disorganized in the first call, they're now going to be looking at you closer and closer and closer, because they're not 100% confident in your ability to deliver the service, even though that may be completely incorrect. Think of any time you've ever bought anything significant, signed up for a service, bought a car, bought a house. Okay, are you more likely to nitpick if the person selling you that is disorganized from the off? Yes, of course you are, because it builds this lack of belief in your confidence in them to deliver the job. Okay, so you start to nitpick, you look for problems. Okay, whereas if you have an exemplary service, you won't bother looking for problems, because you'll just believe that whoever has sold you the service or product is more than capable of doing the job to the best level of standard. Okay. Now, simple changes in verbal and body language can have big effects on how you're perceived by someone. Okay. We want to think about perception here, and we want to think more importantly about how somebody is perceiving us. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do for a minute is recognize the tone that I'm using, the pauses that I take in my speech as we're going through this webinar. Okay. The reason for that is because I want you to understand how this is being conveyed to you. Now, hopefully, what this is conveying is A, confidence in the topic, B, confidence in running the webinar, and C, confidence in dealing with an audience. Okay. Now, let me give you an example. If I was talking like this, sorry, I meant to say, oh, actually, no, let's go back and talk about this for a minute. What does that tell you? Is it going to be more difficult to listen to what I'm saying? Is it going to be more difficult to believe what I'm saying? Absolutely. Why? Because there's a change in my verbal language. And that is the simplest change. Now, it doesn't mean that I know what I'm talking about any less. It means that the way I'm being perceived by you is coming across differently, because there's no pauses in my speech. I'm jumpy. I'm up and down with my tone. I'm forgetting things that I wanted to say. I'm going back on what I said. All of those things are massive indicators that I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, even if that's not the case, perception is an incredibly important thing. So we have to make sure that we get this right from the off with the client or the prospective client at this stage. Okay. And finally, simply smiling, being friendly, and thanking them for their time will go a really, really, really long way. Okay. Now, what you may have seen in business before is almost what we could call an air of arrogance in the early sessions, in the early sales meetings, because somebody comes on as a service provider and they think, you know what, if I'm really confident, almost arrogantly confident, it's going to build a perception that that person wants to work with me. I don't view it that way. I view it as entitlement and a belief that the client has to work with you. And I don't think that's a good way to look at it. The reason for that is because we can be perceived as the following: disinterested, arrogant, overconfident. All of these things are not a good look. So what do? I smile. I'm friendly. Thank you for your time. And I wish for you to have the most wonderful day. Because if I have given you that experience in the sales meeting, then you're so much more likely to think, do you know what? I really enjoyed my meeting with Ben. He was friendly, he was polite, he was knowledgeable, he was professional. I want to work with that person. That's the impression we want to leave for these people, okay? So that brings us to the end of topic number 1. I'll give you a brief pause and rejoin you again in just a moment. Please feel free to ask questions and please feel free to jot down any notes and I'll be right back with you. Okay, let's move on to topic number 2, common ground, okay? So you may have heard the phrase before, people buy from people, okay? Now, here's an interesting theory, okay? Let's say that you have 2 shoe stores next to each other, okay? Now, shoe store number 1, you're looking at buying a pair of Nikes, okay? Now, shoe store number 1, pair of Nikes are £100. You go in, try the shoes on. You're enjoying the experience so far. The shop's nice and clean. Shoes are great, everything, okay? So you try the shoes on, brilliant. Now, you speak to the sales associate and you say, look, these are my size. Could I buy them, please? The sales associate goes, yeah, just a minute. I'm dealing with another customer. How does that make you feel? It makes you feel unimportant. You're spending £100, which is a large sum of money. You like the shoes, you like the store, so now you're confused. You think, well, I thought this was a nice store, but that person was just rude to me. Now, even if there's 10 staff in the store, this one person has just immediately spoken for all of them. Why? Because they've left a lasting impression with you that they don't care whether you buy the shoes or not. It's not their responsibility to make you happy. They don't care. Okay? So what do? This is what I would do. I would go into store number 2. Store number 2 is also nice and clean. Try on the shoes again, just to check. Now, what happens differently here? I ask the sales associate again, can I buy these shoes? Sales associate says to me, of course, let me help you right away. Take me over to the till. Now the shoes are £110. Do I mind? No, absolutely not. Who got my service? Store number 2. Why? Because they were polite, respectful, made me feel wanted, made my business feel welcome. That is the difference. People will pay more money for a better experience, for a better service, although they are buying exactly the same thing. Why? Because we have an emotional attachment to things that we purchase, whether we like it or not. There's a component within us that has an emotional decision-making process whenever we buy an item. Because if I buy the shoes from store number 1, I'm going to think, yeah, I like the shoes, but should I have bought them? They are quite expensive. I don't know how much I like these. I might return them. And why am I having these doubts? Because my service was awful. If I've had outstanding, excellent service, what am I talking about for the rest of the day? That person was so friendly. I love these shoes. They're fantastic. They're so comfortable. What a bargain at £110. You see the difference here, all from one simple change. So in other words, you may have the best product or service in the world, but if someone is struggling to connect with you personally, you may struggle to sell. It does not matter how good the service is, how good the product is. And I'm speaking here from first-hand consumer experience. I have had offers come across my desk to give people money for different things, different services, and I have not bought them. Not because they weren't good services, not because they weren't good products, because the person dealing with that situation I found to be rude or disrespectful. Okay. And if that happens, I personally will not part with my money. Okay. And it is a rule that I will stand by for a very, very good reason, because this is consumer psychology. This is how it works. Okay. If somebody is struggling to connect with you personally, you may struggle to sell. Now, here's what you can do. You can try finding non-business areas that the prospect may be interested in discussing, such as sports, hobbies, if you both have children, if you both have a similar interest in mountain biking, if you both have a similar interest on holidaying in the same destination. Talk about it, okay? What are you doing this year? What are you up to? What kind of thing do you enjoy doing in your spare time? Okay, now you don't need to say it quite as robotically as that. You can work it organically into a conversation. How are you? Yeah, great, thanks. I just got back from Spain. Oh, how was it? It was brilliant, thanks. We stayed in X region. Oh, I've been there too. Okay, do it organically. Allow conversation to flow and don't give short, or blunt answers. How are you? Good. Okay, there's nowhere else to go from there. So you have to understand how these conversations flow, which is a wonderful, wonderful skill to have. Try finding non-business areas that the prospect may be interested in. Why? Because you're finding common ground. They are going to begin to like you because they realize, hey, you're kind of similar to me. You have a lot of similar interests to me. You like holidaying in the same place as me. You're a good person. I want to work with you. It is literally that simple. Okay. So finding a way to get on common ground with your prospect will very likely increase your chances of selling. Now, that's not to say that you're guaranteed a sale from this, because no sale is ever guaranteed, but it will very much increase your chances of selling. Okay. I will go over this again and again and again until I get my message across, because it is so important. You could have the best product, the best service in the world, but if someone is struggling to connect with you, they're not going to buy, or they're very, very unlikely to buy. Okay, so that brings us again to the end of topic number 2. I'll give you again a brief moment. Please take the time to jot down any notes. Please fire away with any questions. Thank you for the questions so far. And I will see you again for topic number 3 in just a moment. Okay, let's go on to topic number 3, third and final topic of today. We're going to talk about a formula. Okay, now this is a formula to take with you in a client-facing situation. So let's imagine long-term income and keeping clients happy going hand in hand like a formula. Okay, now this is the way that I like to get stuff across, because it makes it undeniably simple. All we have to do is follow this formula, follow this recipe, and we are very, very, very likely to keep our clients very, very happy. Okay, so imagine long-term income and keeping clients happy going hand in hand like a formula. So what is said formula? Number 1, regular updates. Okay, so simple. People will become frustrated if they don't hear from you. Okay, they're waiting for even just communication, just touching base. Okay, it's such a corporate term, but it is so, so relevant. All you have to do is let them know, hey, this is what's going on. I'm still interested. Because that's what it says. It says, I'm still interested in your business. I'm still interested in working with you. If we go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks without talking to them, not so much as an email, they're going to begin to think, even if you're working away quietly in the background, that you've lost interest. Again, it's human nature. They will lose interest in working with you because they believe that you've lost interest in working with them. Okay. Now, when you do come back, they'll probably be pleased to hear from you. But if that happens again and again and again, where you go a month or longer without talking, they're going to begin to think, do you know what? This isn't really for me. I need more regular updates. Bye for now. Okay. That's what's going to happen. Number 2, suggestions for growth. Okay. We do not want to plateau. We do not want to flatline. Think of any other analogy for what we're talking about here. Do not become complacent. Always be bringing forward new growth ideas for your clients. Why? Because it says the same thing as regular updates do. It says, I care about the success of your business and I want you to grow. Because if we're not growing, why are we in business? People rely on us as digital service providers to help them grow. That is quite literally the purpose of our business and our jobs. So we have to make sure that we are putting forward suggestions for their growth to help them keep growing. Okay. Scheduled meetings. What does it say? It says, I care, I have stuff to tell you, and I want to hear your opinion. If none of those things are true, again, why are we in business together? And that's what they're going to be thinking. And finally, lots of little wins. Okay. Do things that are working well for the client as often as you possibly can. Okay. A social media post that went really well, an advert that's performed better than expected, a new graphic for them that they absolutely love. Okay. It can be the most novel of things, but it's a little win. And if they're continuously getting these little wins from you, they'll think, this person's fantastic. I always find myself happy when I speak with them. That's what we want. That's what we need to achieve. And that's what we need to do. Okay. Lots of little wins all the time. Okay. Now, on top of this, with enough commitment, the big wins will come. If you keep doing this, you will find big, big, big wins coming. You'll increase turnover 10% year on year. You'll bring in 3 new clients for them in 1 week. You will find mega wins coming from these simple behaviors, okay? Because if we're not giving them regular updates, if we're not suggesting how they can grow, if we're not meeting with them on a regular basis, and we're not getting any wins, even little ones, what does that say to you about a client relationship? When I've just summarized that there, what does that say to you? Is that a relationship that you want to be part of? No, absolutely not. Okay. So on top of this, with enough commitment, the big wins will come and the client relationship will continue moving forward. So with that being said, we'll bring topic 3 to a close. We'll take another pause. I'll see you on the other side of that for the recap, and then we'll do the Q&A for today's session. I'll see you again in just a moment. Perfect. So let's move on to a recap for today. Number 1, become unbreakable from the beginning. Okay. Give the best first impression. Number 2, people buy from people. Which trainers are you buying? And number 3, with commitment, the wins will come. Okay. So as always, a massive thank you for taking the time to attend today's webinar. It's been a genuine pleasure. If you'd like to talk to a member of our team, you're more than welcome to head over to iob-business.com/talk. On there, you can book a call at a time that suits you. So when you go to that page, you'll see a calendar just like this one. You can book a call with us and you can have a chat. So let's grab the questions from today. First question, what if a prospect won't share anything personal? Okay, love that. So don't force it, all right? Maybe share a personal anecdote, okay? Now, breaking down people's barriers is difficult. It is, right? There's no denying that. Sometimes you just meet somebody that just won't share, okay? Now, it's not to say that they won't work with you, but the question I would be asking, is that a person that I want to work with? Okay? Because you will get the odd person who has a power complex or the need to control the situation, or they feel that not speaking is beneficial in some capacity. I don't understand it completely myself. So with that, I would just say, you know what, it's been great, but actually this working relationship isn't going to work out overly well for me. Okay. You have to have enough self-respect within your business to be able to say this if the time is right. However, some people just need a little bit of help breaking the barriers down, okay? Because they need to feel comfortable. And this is different. They're not doing it purposely. They just need a bit of help. In which case, here's what I would recommend doing, okay? Let's imagine that you are my client or my prospective client at this stage, and I am the service provider. And I say to you, hey, how's it going? Have you had a good day? And you say to me, yep. I say, okay, fantastic. So what sort of thing can I help you with on this call today? And they say, well, or you say in this context, oh, well, I don't really know. I was hoping you could help me with that. And then I say, okay, well, great. It's actually hilarious because you'd be surprised how much more often than not this actually happens, right? Like people look at me to figure things out, which is wonderful. And I love doing that sort of thing. So honestly, don't worry if it's not exactly what you know. Sorry, not exactly. You don't know exactly what you want to do right now, because that's exactly what I'm here to help with. And they say, okay, all right, great. They're starting to open up a bit. Okay. Then I say, it's funny, actually, you know, I had a call last week where I honestly had no idea either at the beginning, because really I needed the client to tell me where we were going. And then actually I ended up creating XYZ plan for them. And now we get on like a house on fire. Okay. That's my way of breaking down the barrier. That's my anecdote. I'm sharing something that happened to me on a personal level. Now, that probably wasn't one of the best examples I could ever give you, but it's pretty good. And it's a pretty good way of just hitting the problem head on, calling out the situation, and putting everybody at comfort. Okay. Because if somebody is not comfortable, they're very, very unlikely to want to do business together. Okay. Next question. I have a client that doesn't really like meetings. Cool. All right. Now, listen, big credit for recognizing this. Okay. Now that you know this, use it to continue connecting with your client. Okay. Somebody doesn't like meetings. That's fair. I don't really like them either. Okay. On a personal level, I don't really like sitting in a meeting that doesn't need to be had. Okay. So what I like is, if I need somebody to do something for me, or I need to do something for somebody else, Send it to me in a report. Shoot me over an email. Keep me updated. Send me a WhatsApp message. What works best for your client? So big kudos for recognizing that they don't like meetings. Great. Don't force them. You do not have to force a meeting. It's not essential. Okay. Just make sure that you're staying in touch one way or the other. Okay. Great question. Thanks for asking. Do we have any more questions from today? No. Okay. Perfect. Well, as always, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to join today's webinar. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next iOB business webinar. Take care and bye for now.